What's your criteria for saying no? If it doesn't what, then it's a no.
If I'm a maybe, I say no.
You are that person.
Yeah. Yes, I am that person.
And do you find that it helps you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would do too many things.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm even slightly maybe, I'm like,
If you're a slight maybe,
Yeah.
it's a no.
Yeah.
I don't got it all planned out, but you know, I just watch it all pan out, 'cause I know that you know, covered in this life until forever.
Wow. Okay, Liz Tenuto, welcome to the Cool Mom Code podcast. We are so excited you are here.
Thank you so much.
Can I be honest with you? You are maybe the second non-mom to sit in the Cool Mom Code podcast chair. And we're actually excited you're here, but you're not a mother. So
I'm not.
this is coming from a very different expertise. We are here because we are excited to talk to you. I think you have so much information to share to our audience, to mothers, to women, period. And you've kind of built your whole career on helping women in so many ways. But I wonder how many people have really heard of what you do. I mean, obviously, because you have millions of followers, that you are very well known in the practice. But I wonder if it's like mainstream yet. So we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Liz is the world's leading, which I didn't realize, leading somatic instructor.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. Somatic exercise instructor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what somatic exercises are.
Soma. Yes. Soma is the Greek word for body.
Okay.
Somatic exercises are really gentle movements that you can do in bed or on the floor. They're incredibly lazy and relaxed.
I mean, that's crazy in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But continue.
Yes. And they release stress and trauma out of your body, regulate your nervous system, and build healthy neural pathways in your brain.
So when I think of exercises, I always think of hitting the gym.
Yep.
When I think of lazy exercises, I think of more of like yoga, something a little bit more free flowing. And I still go to yoga and I'm like sweating and I'm in like a lot of like discomfort because I'm not super, flexible. I go to Pilates and I'm like, oh my God, that was like such a workout. So no matter what, I think of exercises as really like heavy workouts. Like it really puts my body into like different phases. And you have to do it because it's a part of like being healthy and all the things. How is it that somatic, I looked at your videos. I'm like, you're moving half an inch.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the movement is so slight.
Yes.
How does that make such a big impact on our bodies?
Essentially, somatics really focuses on the brain to body connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing, especially if you're doing high intensity exercise like CrossFit or like HIIT or Orange Theory classes or hot yoga, you're really actually spiking your cortisol, which just perpetuates the biological stress cycle in your body. Whereas yoga and Pilates are more, low to medium intensity and they're better for you. But somatics is so interesting because when I first tried it, I was super skeptical.
Yeah.
I was like, how is like rolling around on the ground and like moving a half inch going to do anything?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And the way that it's taught is really focused on you focusing on your inner landscape, using a lot of minor muscles to retrain your body and establish really efficient, healthy patterns of movement without tension. So many of us store all of this habitual tension in our jaw or in our stomach, or maybe your sphincter's clenched all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I went there right away.
Went there. You went straight in. I mean, no even holds bar. Okay. Sphincter is clenched.
Sphincter's
That's
clenched.
stress. Okay.
Yeah. Jaw is clenched. And this is all just part of your body's physiological fight-flight response. But what happens for so many women and so many moms is that you're stressed like every day. You're doing so much and that stress just builds up in your body over time. And over time it can cause, headaches, stomach aches, insomnia. And then it gets into more chronic health conditions like autoimmune conditions, heart issues. So when you start to have those early signs of like back pain that won't go away, or, you know, a headache that is more than once or twice per month, if you have like 3 headaches per month, your body's kind of putting on the emergency lights on your car, and it's being like, hey, we're holding too much stress in our body.
The warning signals are going off.
Exactly.
And now it's time to pay attention.
Exactly.
What I do absolutely love about, you know, even the way you present on social is that you go through it all. I mean, you'll be like, if you see this, you need to do this. If you see this, it's like you give an outline of exactly what it is and what we should be looking out for. But I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, like I have a lot of this.
Yeah.
Like, is she speaking to me? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. Is she talking to me? Like, you did something about like sleep or something. You were like, if you clench your jaw at night, if you wake up like having night sweat, if you like, it was like 3, and you were like, if you have 3 of these things, then you need to, I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
So I guess for you, it's kind of like, for me, it's like, how do you know when you reach the point of no return? I mean, like, is it at the first signs of these things that we need to start acting right away? Or is it when it hits a certain point and you're like, oh shit, I fucked up. Like, I can't go back now.
Yeah. I think when you're uncomfortable is when you want to start to take steps to, the exercises are great, but just take steps to get your body out of its biological stress response. So there's stressors in life that you can't really control. Your kid has a really hard day at school, finances, issues with your work or your partner. You can't really control that, but you can control how much stress you're holding in your body.
Right.
So movement is physiologically one of the easiest, most simple ways that we can release stress out of our body. And so if you're not doing really gentle exercises, or going walks are also really great for people to release stress, or going on walks to release stress, something that's really, really mellow, more mellow than yoga. You're really just holding on to that stress. And even a lot of people are doing exercise because they think it's the right thing to do. We've been told it's the right thing to do, but then they still feel so stressed out, or they're really tense, or they're not sleeping well. So once you start to feel uncomfortable, that's the time when you want to take action. A lot of people will go to the doctor and the doctor will be like, you're fine, because you're not at the level yet of severity for a doctor to treat it.
See, that's the scary part for me. And this is what we advocate very much on this show, just for women, when they feel something might be off, go to the doctor. Ask questions. If that one says it's fine, then you still feel it, follow your gut, go to someone else. Like, continue to ask questions. There have been so many women who come on here and sit in this chair and they're like, if I didn't go to this other doctor, if I didn't ask another question, if I didn't like just follow that little intuition in me, they would have never found it. I would have never this would have gone on for years and years, or it would have developed into something else. So I love the fact that I think your whole platform is also trust your gut. It's happening for a reason. Don't ignore it. Those sort of things. I just can't get over the fact that there's such small movements, and these are movements that you can do when you're laying in bed, sitting in the chair. Are these things like that? Is there a series that we should be looking out for? Like, is there a certain like routine that we should all do all the time?
Yeah, there is a series a sequence of movements that will release the years or decades of pent up stress and trauma out of your body. Wow. And that's what I've worked in this field for 14 years now. And it took me a long time to develop that sequence and test it out with a lot of different people on like what would work best for everyone. And it does take about a month.
I was just
for people.
How long? Okay.
Yeah, it takes about a month, because you don't want to go in on day one right away and be like, I'm releasing all the stress today, because your body's really tense, and it might be,
because that'll have another outcome, right?
Exactly. It'll just make you more stressed. So your body's tense and it's bracing. So first you need to do exercises for a little while to release some of that habitual tension out of your body, regulate your nervous system again. So you're starting to feel more in harmony with your brain and with your body. They feel more connected. And then you want to go into the big release of stress and of trauma, because you don't want to go in right away. Otherwise it'll be overwhelming and it won't even work.
And since somatic exercises are the connection between your mind and your body, are there also a lot of like mental things you're also doing at the same time during this process?
I'm essentially asking people questions while we're doing the exercises to get them to reflect. So I'm not really telling people what to do. I'll be like, you know, how small can you make this movement? How unambitious can you be as you do this?
Wow.
Yeah, like what is happening with your stomach right now? And that gives people the language that they can then start to use on the daily when they're driving and they're in the carpool lane. They can be like, what's my stomach doing right now?
Or how unambitious can I be right now?
Yes.
That's perfect.
And I also do a lot of cueing in terms of helping people understand their inner landscape, how they're feeling, and using a lot of imagery.
How is this not like something that everyone's doing? An unambitious exercise.
Yes.
That's what this is termed, an unambitious exercise. I love that idea, because every other facet in our lives requires us to be so ambitious.
Yes.
It requires us to be so above and beyond.
Yeah.
Especially I think for parents who are juggling literally raising children, career, relationships, all these things that are happening all at once, simultaneously, nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's always go, go, go.
Yeah.
It's you feel like you're overwhelmed with things all the time.
Yes.
So how many minutes a day, or what's your time commitment on this per day?
Yeah, 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes.
10 minutes a day. And even if you just do like 1 minute a day, you'll feel better.
And is this in conjunction with like another workout routine? So if you're doing this and walking, or if you're doing this and yoga, is it, or can we just get away with doing this?
You can just get away with just doing this for 30 days and you'll be fine, and you'll have great results from it. I personally do somatic exercises and I walk. I have a dog, so I walk my dog every day for like 45 minutes. And that's great because it's also really relaxing.
And for everyone who's listening to this podcast right now and not watching us, let me just describe Liz to you real quick. Okay. She is beautiful, by the way, but your skin is glowing. I mean, her teeth are white. Her, everything about her is just like so vibrant. And you look like the healthiest person in this room right now, to be honest with you. So I say that to say that whatever it is that you're doing, there must be a good mental, physical balance. And so it is something that we should all take note of.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, full of compliments over here.
Yeah, I used to do so much.
Really?
Yeah, because in my 20s, I had chronic pain and insomnia at like age 14. And in my 20s, I knew I'm too young to be feeling this way. Something must be going on. I went to doctors, therapists, holistic healers. I'd try anything.
Yeah. Because you were a former ballet dancer.
I was a former ballet dancer. Right. And my ballet teacher was like, you're super dissociated when you're not dancing. Come to my somatics class. And I was like, I don't think it's going to work, but I'm desperate.
I'll try anything.
I'll try it. And it, after 4 lessons with her, it was like my decade-long battle with insomnia was almost gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had really great results really fast. And that's the same thing. We have like 150,000 people in our courses, and people get results within a few days normally.
Wow.
Of they're already starting to feel better, lighter. But I used to, before finding somatic exercises, I used to like go to 3 yoga classes a week. I used to go to the chiropractor. I used to get massage every week. It was expensive and be like incredibly time consuming. And I felt like I was on this like wellness rat race where I was just like doing so many things. And my ballet teacher, which is hilarious that it came from a ballet teacher, it's so counterintuitive, but she's also a somatics teacher. And she's like, do less. She's like, stop doing all of that. She's like, cancel all those appointments. That's so stressful.
Is it just because it's so stressful on your body in itself? So if you have a chiropractor, you're doing yoga, you have a Pilates class, you're also lifting weights, you're doing all this in 1 week. Isn't that also putting a lot of stress on your body in a physical way?
Yeah, 1,000%. essentially keeping your body in a state of fight or flight just over and over and over again. And you're not giving yourself enough time for recovery.
If you are talking to a busy parent, whether it be a mother, father, whatever it is, but a busy parent who already finding time to walk or make it to the gym or even do a Pilates class in the mornings or in the evenings, it's already hard. What are you suggesting that their must schedule be in terms of wellness a day?
I'd say 5 to 10 minutes of a self-care moment for yourself. Even if that's just sitting outside, staring into the oblivion, that's fine. Yeah. Just have that 5 to 10 minutes per day. Doing a little bit of somatic exercises before you go to bed is great, or right when you wake up before the kids wake up is also a great thing to do. If you don't even have time for that, my favorite thing to tell parents to do is to do 5 physiological sighs.
What is this?
You're just sighing dramatically.
Oh, just like, what we do
you
normally.
Take a deep breath and then you sigh. And you can do it in the carpool lane. Yes. You can do it or in the carpool line.
This is what I do when I'm cooking dinner.
Yes, you can do it. Anytime you have a private moment, you can really do the 5 physiological sighs, and it actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest state.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling agitated or frustrated, or if you're just exhausted, you can just do 5 sighs.
Is this very similar to the box breathing? Where you take a deep breath in, you do the 4 seconds, and then you breath out, and all that. Is that similar to that?
I would say it has a similar effect.
Okay.
In terms of the nervous system. For me, with breathing, I don't teach people to count their breath because a lot of people are already anxious and overthinking things anyways. And when you start counting your breath, it can kind of make you more anxious and more in your head.
Interesting.
And then people are starting to count their breath while they're just doing getting water and stuff. And it can just go down this.
Yeah. Not even, it's counteracting what it was meant to do.
Yes.
You also, I saw somewhere that you were don't meditate, do this instead.
Yeah.
Why do somatic exercises instead of meditation?
Yeah, that's specifically for people who are in freeze response or functional freeze response.
Which is?
So functional freeze, I think, is something that a lot of moms experience where you're really functional and productive during the day. You can you can be involved with your kids, you can be going to all the things, you can have a job, you can be there for your family, you can do it. And then when you get home and everything is done, you just absolutely crash and you have no brain cells left and you're just completely frozen.
That is me.
Yes. That's seriously, most of the moms that I've worked with are in this functional freeze state. So in the nervous system, you're in fight flight during the day, but then at night you're in freeze. And then there's a point within the nervous system that some people experience after severe trauma or too much stress for too long, where they're in freeze all the time and they just can't even participate anymore, and they can't get out of bed and they can barely get food, and they're just
doctors
exhausted.
Would call depression.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Depression is different than freeze because depression involves sadness and a lack of motivation, and freeze is just physiological. It's you literally don't have the energy, but you're not necessarily sad.
Okay. That's a good distinction to make.
But it's scary when you're in that place because you're I don't know what's happening. So if you're taking antidepressants and they're not working for you, you may be actually just experiencing this physiological freeze state.
Wow. And then how do you get out of the freeze state?
Yeah. So the reason why I don't suggest meditation, to kind of go back to that, is that essentially when you're in freeze, you're physically immobilized and you feel really stuck. And so meditating will just make you feel more stuck. You need movement to get out of freeze.
I see.
And most people, when I tell them you need to move a little, they're oh my God, I can't even get out of bed. I don't want to move. I'm yeah, just move your hips like this in bed.
Just a wiggle.
Just pull on your ears a little bit. And then they're okay, I can do that. And because somatic exercises are so lazy and so mellow, it is this great way of of getting them to move again a little bit. And then once they start that, I'm like, okay, go on a 5-minute walk. And they're like, okay, I'll do that.
It's baby steps.
Baby steps. But if you're just meditating in that state, you're really just exacerbating the freeze response and perpetuating that. So that's specifically for people who are in functional freeze or in freeze. I don't suggest meditation while you're feeling that way.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And you also work with kids.
Yes.
So this is something that also can be applied to kids who are feeling what? Just also a really quick note. If you're loving this content, our podcast with all of our amazing guests, we love sharing their stories. It really is such a joy for us. Then you're going to love thecoolmom.co. Make sure to head over there. It is everything that you can think of lifestyle. So we have fashion, food, we have amazing interviews with a lot of other cool moms as well. So check out all of our Cool Mom Co features, shop our merch, do all the things. Check out thecoolmom.co. And you also work with kids.
Yes.
So this is something that also can be applied to kids who are feeling what?
Any sort of big feeling. So when I was working with my mentor, Augusta Moore, I started working with kids when I first was getting certified in somatic exercises. And I started teaching kids ages 3 through 7.
Okay.
And we were really figuring out how to translate somatic exercises from being for 8 years old plus into this younger age, and using somatic exercises as a way for kids to process their big emotions through physical movement. Because kids, that age of kids, like, understand movement.
Right.
They want to run, they're so physically active. And what we were really experimenting with, and we did I'm really proud of the work that we did together, because we essentially found you don't want to just like let them run around and go crazy if they're feeling, or I shouldn't say that, let them run around and be like really hyperactive.
Right.
If they're feeling a certain way, you want to like give them a container. So I could tell them, okay, like do some pillow slams, which is where they just slam a pillow onto the ground.
Oh
like,
my God.
Count
My son would love you.
10 pillow slams. And then they start laughing. They've kind of released that emotion, and now they're on to a new emotion, and they're also a lot calmer because they've gotten some of that stress out of their body.
So this is like a 3 to 7 year old, right? Like, so that younger kind of toddler-ish stage, right? Where I love that, right? My son is within that window.
Yeah.
He's 6. So I could see him definitely loving that exercise of like, you telling him that he can throw pillows or toss a pillow or slam a pillow 10 times, he's all about it. And I think it would like open up, right, when he's feeling emotional. But my 9-year-old, now this one is tricky because she's very like into her feelings, into her emotions. She is very hard fast, so you cannot tell her anything. She knows exactly what it is. You are wrong all the time. But she can get very like highly into her emotions. And then I also have a preteen who is going through all the hormones up and down, left and right. And so she's in her emotions. What would be great ways to tackle, or not even tackle, I guess that's a bad word, that brings a negative connotation to it? What are ways that you can have them express their emotions through somatic exercises?
The same exercises that I do with adults for any child over the age of 8. When they're like 8 to 11, I use a lot of imagery with them and really ignite the creativity with them. Like, imagine that, you're painting as like your lower back is painting the floor as you're doing this, and what kind of shapes are you making, and getting them really into that state, and what color are you using, and that kind of gives them this really interesting, we call it proprioception, which is where you're sensing your body in a really aware way, and connects them to their body. And then that connects them to their feelings too. And for kids over age 12, so 12 and up, I do somatic exercises, same as I would do with adults.
Any adult, right.
But maybe just a shorter session, so it's not as as long. Like it's 7 minutes instead of 10.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty much the same applies.
Yeah.
So once the parent, the mom, gets into this sort of like somatic exercises and gets more comfortable, then that's something that she can also walk her kids through.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty phenomenal. Okay, so is somatic exercises, so this is something you came about from ballet.
Yes.
What has it done for you personally?
It was the first thing that took away my chronic pain and my insomnia. Prior to that, I had felt relief for like 1 to 2 days from acupuncture and other things, but somatic exercises was the first thing that made it last. And I've even had phases when I first started doing somatic exercises. I had a phase where I did it for a couple months, and then I was out of town for a month and didn't do it at all. But I still had the lasting effects,
Right.
which was the first time I'd ever experienced that. It's also just slowed me down a lot. It's gotten me really out of feeling like I have to be super productive all the time and be pushing myself all the time, because I'm actually quite a driven person.
Right.
I like to be, I like to be productive in a way.
What do you say to the people who that is very difficult to, like, I hear you and it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Even like I look at you and I look at your like disposition and you are giving me all the calm energy.
Yes.
Like, girl, you are filling my whole space with calmness and energy and good vibes.
Yeah.
And hearing you talk and say, like, for you, that it has allowed you to slow down. It has allowed you to kind of like enjoy the moments is what I'm hearing, to be honest with you. And that's something very difficult for, I think, a person like myself and maybe many of me's out there, or whatever, people who are similar to me out there, right? Like, it's very hard to, know the 50 things that you have to do and the 50 things that people are going to be asking you once you get home and all this stuff. Or it's so difficult to just slow down. What do you say to people like me who are like, girl, I don't know. It seems like it's too good to be true.
It's scary to slow down. I think it's like, it's kind of terrifying actually, because you think if you slow down, everything is going to unravel, right? But when you're in a rush, you actually make more mistakes, and you have to, like, if I were rushing to get here, I would have maybe like dropped something on my skirt and then I have to change and find a whole new look. But if I am just like, I'm going to go slow and I'm going to be really slow and relaxed about how I approach this, I actually weirdly get more done and I feel better while I'm doing it.
Is it about being more intentional? Is that like also a word that you could use too? Like being more intentional, like you're saying, like not rushing through, but just being more intentional about your moments?
Yes, I do say no to a lot of things, and I do prioritize a lot of things. So if something isn't necessary for me to do today, I'll just like write a note and then I'll have like an hour at the end of the week where I do all my like little things where it's like, add this to my calendar. And
what's your criteria for saying no? If it doesn't what, then it's a no.
If I'm a maybe, I say no.
You are that person?
Yeah. Yes, I am that person.
And do you find that it helps you?
Yes. Otherwise I would do too many things. Yeah. If I'm even slightly maybe, I'm like,
if you're a slight maybe, it's a no. That's great though.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I hear that it's all about, I like the idea that it is about bringing the mind and body together. I think obviously for busy individuals, I think it's a game changer.
Yeah.
I think it's also great for growing minds and bodies to learn that your mind and your body have to be connected.
Yes.
Because it's something I don't think I learned till I was well into my 30s.
Absolutely.
I mean, I spent a whole lifetime, it feels like, not even realizing that my mind was so connected to my body and that, hey, it's important to pay attention to both.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of trauma is also what you talk about. And not just like the stresses of life that we all experience just from being human beings, but also just just traumas of past traumas, right? Is what you speak about a lot too. How does somatic exercises help with past traumas? So if you are in abusive relationships, if you come from, you know, a household that you were raised in that wasn't, you know, as loving or whatever, like what are some of those? How does somatic exercises help those past moments that you've already lived through, but are still kind of buried within you?
Yeah. I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse, domestic violence from childhood and from my marriage. And somatic exercises have been really, really helpful in healing that. Essentially, trauma causes you to disconnect from yourself because you have to survive. So if you're in a traumatic environment growing up, or in, you know, or have experienced SA, or have had sexual assault, or have relationship trauma, sometimes you don't have the support around you, or sometimes you tell people and they don't believe you, or they don't help you, or they minimize it. And then you're kind of left to fend for yourself, and it feels really bad in those moments, and that actually causes more trauma for people. So if people go through hard things like that, and if a child goes through something hard like that and they tell their parent, and their parent is there for them and helps them, it actually builds resilience. But if the parent dismisses it or neglects them, or like doesn't really pay attention to what they're saying, it causes trauma. And trauma does cause you to disconnect from both your body and your mind and your emotions, and it can really lead to kind of feeling shut down on the inside. And somatic exercises are a catalyst to reconnecting with yourself and reestablishing the sense of safety within yourself and the ability to trust yourself again, because you're rebuilding your neural pathways.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so it's helpful for not only just the stresses that we go through, but the stresses that you've had and traumas that you've had from past. To help your body start to become more in connection with your mind, and for you to get past anything that's holding you back.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You essentially, when you're in that moment of you've experienced trauma and you're perhaps not able to resolve it right now because you don't have the tools or the time or the support around you that you need, you will start to develop these maladaptive coping mechanisms. For some people, that looks like overscheduling themselves and they're running around so they never have to think about it. For other people, that looks like, you know, substance use, drinking too much wine every night, or kind of an addiction to shopping. There are these maladaptive patterns that happen, and they're coping mechanisms for people to try to process, to try to just live with the trauma that's
I like
there.
that you gave examples that actually seem like could be you, your girlfriend, your whatever. Like you didn't give examples where were like, so like, you know, far left, like, oh, you know, the person who does coke every day, blah, blah, you know, like not so far right to this side. You gave examples that really are shopping, right? Like that's a real thing. Like people, you know, we all know somebody in our lives who shops too much, and you're like, girl, slow down. Like, why you get that again? You need that too. Or you know, someone who does have one glass of wine too much at dinner, and you're like, really? Really? We're doing this? Like, you know, so that kind of thing. You gave examples that could be us, you know, and I like that because I think it makes it a lot more real, and I think it also touches people and wakes up something and says, oh, hold on, wait a minute, that could be me, or that could be my girlfriend, or that could be my husband, or whatever, you know, and that could be a way that they're coping through something.
Yes. And for a short period of time, that those behaviors can help people, right? But then when you've over shopped for years, and then you have a lot of credit card debt, right? Or no more money, then it's a real problem, and it's starting to really negatively impact your life.
But it's also, I think, even, yes, when it hits that point, but I think what I love about what you're saying is that even for Marcus, for you to look at before it gets to that point, because even if you're like feeling like, okay, I'm going through something right now in life, or something has happened, and then, you know, in the next couple of months, you're like, wow, I'm really like I'm really going in at Sephora, or I'm really going in at some, or, you know, I'm over shopping this or whatever it is, then you can say to yourself, hey, maybe this is something I need to look at. Maybe this is a reaction to something, even before it gets to credit card debt and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Like maybe it's just a pattern that you didn't recognize could be a symptom of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that you used that kind of terminology. Is somatic exercises something that we can go anywhere for, or how do we find them? Obviously, we can always go to your page to find them. If someone wants to do something in person or in their area, how do we even look for something like this?
Yeah, somatic therapy and somatic exercises historically has been really difficult to access. When I first started in 2008, I had to like take a train, you know, from Oakland into San Francisco, and it took me like almost an hour each way, and it was expensive too. And since the pandemic, it's gotten more accessible and more people know about it, and more practitioners are providing different levels of access for people. So there are online options like what I offer, and then you can also work with a somatic therapist who would be similar to a similar pathway of finding that therapist as a somatic therapist as a regular therapist, but you just look for someone who specializes in somatic work.
Okay. And I know this sounds crazy, but can we do some somatic exercises right now?
Yeah.
Can we talk and walk our listeners through some?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's start. So,
we can do this while we're sitting.
We're going to do it while we're sitting down.
So everyone listening, we are sitting in a chair.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We're going to start with our ankles hip distance apart, long, tall back.
Okay.
Bring your back off of the backrest a little bit.
Okay.
Feel your sits bones sinking down into the chair, kind of like almost like they're sinking down into sand.
Okay. And is this something we can do while we're driving?
Yes.
Okay. So
absolutely.
we're not closing our eyes.
No, not closing your eyes.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. We are going to use our hands in this next one. So maybe not while driving, but definitely while waiting in traffic or at a stoplight.
Got it.
You can do this. So you're going to grab your ears, and you're just going to pull your right earlobe down and then pull your left earlobe down.
So we're alternating.
Alternating. We're using bilateral stimulation. You can do a pretty firm pull.
Okay.
And just notice if your stomach's clenched, if your jaw's clenched, nice.
Okay.
And then we're going to start to walk. We're going to keep pulling your ear. You're going to start to walk up the ear and feel space in between your teeth. How relaxed can your jaw be right now?
So we are still pulling, alternating our ear.
Yes.
Each ear at a time, we're alternating, we're pulling, and we're feeling our jaw loosen up.
Yeah.
Space.
Nice firm pull. Okay. This is an exercise. We're going to keep walking up and down the ears. Right, left, right, left. We're going to do it for about a minute.
Okay.
Seeing how lazy and relaxed the rest of our body can feel, how heavy our hips can feel.
Okay.
And then we're just going to bring that to a pause and bring our arms down. Okay. Do you notice any difference in feeling?
I feel like my ears feel heavy.
Yes. This is an exercise that stimulates your dorsal vagus nerve.
Okay.
Which gives you a little bit more energy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I could use that.
Yeah.
So this could be a good hack when you don't have your coffee fix.
Yes.
Or something
or like
that.
the 3 p.m. slump.
That's right.
Yes.
Just like a nice little boost of energy.
Nice little boost of energy. You can do it before you go into a podcast. You can do it before a meeting.
Before picking up your kids.
Yes. And the firm pulling, most people need to be a little more firm with their pulls. Like that, most people are being a little too gentle. And I'm like, grab it, pull it, grab it, pull it.
Your ear can't break.
No.
There you go.
And it is easier without earrings on.
Yeah, as we both have like big chunky hoops on right now. Yeah. Okay, so the alternate pulling, that's interesting. And you can do that in the carpool line, right?
Absolutely.
Like you could do that while you're in a vehicle.
Yeah.
Hips.
Yep.
Feeling a little bit weighted.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
exactly.
easy.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Want to do one more?
Let's do one more.
Okay. So we're going to cross our arms like this.
Okay. So we're doing a crisscross on our chest.
Yep. And then we're going to just tap right, left, right, left.
Okay. We're just tapping our hands on our shoulders almost essentially.
Yeah.
Right? A little inside shoulder.
Yep. And we'll go a tiny bit faster, like 10% faster.
Okay.
And I repeat the exercises for about a minute each.
Okay. Now, a minute sounds very short, but when you're in it,
it feels long,
it
doesn't
feels
it?
long. Yeah.
You're like, when is it over?
Yeah, you're like, hold on. Okay, we're still tapping.
We're still tapping.
And what should we be thinking about or feeling at this moment?
You want to feel the same heavy hips, feet planted in the floor, so you can feel the bottoms of your feet connected to the floor. How soft can your belly be? Relaxed.
And are we relaxing shoulders, neck, everywhere?
Yeah.
Just try to let go of any tension you have.
Yep. And then we'll bring it to a pause. And this is bilateral stimulation, which essentially helps you process emotions and release emotion. And when you do bilateral stimulation in a longer sequence for about 10 minutes, especially with a specific sequence of movements, you can really have a big emotional release where you'll cry or you'll laugh and it will just kind of like come out of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what would that be good? What moment would that be good for? That would be good if you just got out of a call that was, very tense or stressful, or, you just realized that you had to do 15 more things. This is just a moment for you to kind of bring yourself back to a normal state.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. There's your nervous system can essentially get stuck in its like on position, which is where you're super busy all the time. This is fight flight. You feel restless but anxious and wired and tired. And then it can get stuck in its off position, which is freeze, which I described earlier as like you kind of crash and you have no energy and you feel physically stuck and immobile and your brain is super foggy. And then there's this middle place, like this Goldilocks middle place, called the window of tolerance or ventral vagal. And this is where you feel open and curious and balanced. And
that's where we want to be.
This is where we want to be.
We all want to be in the Goldilocks.
Yes.
Goldilocks is our goal.
Yes. Okay. The middle place is our goal.
The middle place is our goal.
Yeah. And I find that to be really healing with somatic exercises. I did yoga for a while and I was like, after like 5 years, I was like, why is this not doing anything? And I felt like for me now, reflecting back, yoga does kind of, at least Western yoga, does kind of like want you to get to this like nirvana place of like enlightenment and your whole life is different.
Right.
But somatics is like, no, this is just regular life. You're sometimes going to be in fight flight and you're sometimes going to be in freeze. It's normal.
I mean, listening to you, it feels like somatic exercises comes from a very scientific background, like a viewpoint. Like we're attacking it more from science, whereas science is telling us when you squeeze here and, tap here and do this, that it is causing this sort of response in your body scientifically.
Yes.
As opposed to stretching and kind of like, just stretching it out and the things that necessarily like yoga. I don't know all the principles of yoga. But, I'm sure it's like a whole, philosophy as well, but it just feels like the somatic exercise is coming from a slightly different viewpoint.
Absolutely. Somatics is very based in neuroscience and, I would say yoga is more based on spirituality.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. As we're saying this, I've literally been sitting up for like 2 minutes because now I'm so aware of my posture.
Yes. One of my favorite things to think about for posture is that your collarbones are smiling.
Oh, I like that.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like this really, then you're not thinking about like shoulders down, shoulders back. You're just like, my collarbones are smiling.
I mean, you're doing it so effortlessly. I'm like, literally like I'm sticking my whole chest out. It feels like just to even get straight back. I could talk to you for hours. I think this is so useful and so helpful for really anybody who's living life, because life is going to hit you in so many different ways constantly, especially for mothers, which is this audience. We here firsthand know that mothers are just juggling so much, and my heart always goes out to moms because there's just so much on their plate. So I am very thankful for women like you who are bringing this to not only our awareness, but also making it really simple and easy for us to access it and get quick tips. And so if you do anything after this podcast, go look at Liz Tenuto's page. She is the Workout Witch, the Workout Witch, which is such a cute name, by the way. And you just make it very simple. So even if someone can't follow your full program, just even looking at all of your videos on Instagram and TikTok can be so helpful and useful. And I'm just so grateful that you came on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. And I have so much respect for moms.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.